Well, hey, Parkview, welcome out. So glad to have you here, wherever you're tuned in from, whether you're online at one of our locations. It's great to be with you. We are starting a new series, as Pastor Chad said, here at Orland and at all of our locations called Sound Mind. And this is kind of my quick plug for this series. We're going to be in this for the next 6 weeks, and I know it's summertime, but I want to encourage you to be here every single week for this because I believe this is a huge topic of very, very much importance in your life, and it's for every single person. Even if you're sitting here going, well, I don't really have any mental health issues. I don't need to be here for this. I would actually disagree with you. You probably do have some mental health issues, so let's just be honest. And I think I could say that because we all do. We all have some things we need to work on because here's what I know to be true. What you believe, what you think will determine what you do. What you do will set your direction, and your direction will determine your destination. What you believe will ultimately lead you through your life, and so it's very important. So every week we're going to dig into a topic that I believe will be helpful for you as you navigate what it looks like to change the way you think so that you can live the life that God has planned for you. And so I hope you'll join us for that, be a part of it. And as we were planning to go through this series for the 6 weeks, we started kind of navigating out the 6 topics, playing them all out, and I realized that for week 1, I was actually the wrong guy to preach this message, and so I'm actually not going to preach today. And so instead, if you could do me a favor at all of our locations, online as well as here at Orland, would you please give a Parkview welcome to Dr. Tim Harlow.
I'm over here. I got out here on time, maybe a little early. Oh, come on. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Gosh. Thank you. Sit. Some of you are new and you're like, who's the old guy? And why is everybody clapping? Did he escape from a memory care unit? What is going on? It is so, I can't even tell you, so good to be here. And, even if you want to interpret what Pastor Ted just said, it's like, I wanted to invite the most screwed up guy I could, right? Who has the least sound mind? Let's let him start the sermon series. If you're new and you're wondering, I used to work here, and I moved away to Franklin, Tennessee to be with my family because they all ended up moving there. This is the most recent family pick. It is absolutely paradise. It's unbelievable to have them all together. 7 grandkids, but number 8's on the way. Becca, who has the 3-year-old, is a little girl coming. We're going to even things out. And just in a couple of weeks, we're going to have another little girl. So there'll be 8 of us adults and 8 kids, and it's amazing. I also stepped down so that you could have a pastor who used more recent illustrations than the Doobie Brothers and Monty Python, okay? I just figured, and listen, I've been hearing so much good about what Pastor Ted's been doing and how great things are going. It is amazing. From the bottom of my heart, it means so much to me and Denise that you guys are supporting Ted and Amy so well and jumping in and doing the things that are supposed to be done and need to be done. It would have just been so hard for us if this hadn't gone so well, and we're very grateful. I am a little frustrated that after having to be a Bears fan for 33 years, the minute I walk away, they draft a good quarterback. Come on. It doesn't seem fair to me. We live in Franklin, Tennessee with all 3 daughters and our families, and it is wonderful. And I'm exploring what God wants me to do in the kingdom of God going forward. I'm not really very retired because this is actually the 3rd weekend in a row I've preached somewhere. 2 weeks ago, I went out for our friend Gene Apple and preached for him in California. And then last week, I was in Springfield, Illinois, in the middle of Cicada-geddon and preaching for my buddy Eddie. And now I'm here. And normally at our home church, though, in Church of the City in Franklin, I work in the nursery. I literally do. I know. I always said this. I always told you, if I had my druthers, I'd rather be in the nursery. So now I'm a kids volunteer. Until about 4 or 5 weeks ago, when Darren Whitehead, the pastor, called me up at 1 o'clock on Saturday afternoon. They don't have a Saturday night service. He called me up. He's like, dude, I threw my back out and I can't walk. Can you preach for me tomorrow? So I went from the nursery to the stage, and nobody knew who I was. But I preached and I made some Cubs jokes because, I just got to be me, right? What I didn't realize was that Ben Zobrist and Carrie Wood both go to that church. So that was a little awkward. I'm not done with ministry. I'm just moving from the local church into some global things and some other things that I'm working on. Redoing Life on Mission campaign that hundreds of churches did back in the 2014, 2015 era, and I'm redoing that, and churches are doing it again. I have a heart for evangelism. I'm working with Pastor Rick Warren on a project called Finishing the Task, where we're trying to get the gospel to the rest of the world and the languages that don't have it by 2033, because that will be the 2000th anniversary of the church. And so it's a big global project with everybody working together on that. So when Pastor Ted asked me to come and preach, I thought, yeah, I'd love to come and preach. Let me just do something fun, like the end times or something, I mean, that would be cool, because one of my mentors, Bob Russell, said, if you want to attract a crowd, you should either preach on sex or the end times, or will there be sex in the end times? That's So I wanted to do that, but Pastor Ted said, no, I want you to come and tell everybody how screwed up you are. That's what I want. Like, that wasn't the theme of every sermon I ever preached here. But what Ted actually said was that he was grateful that we had created a culture of honesty in our humanity here, and we needed to keep that moving forward. So this series, Sound Mind, is about our mental health, and we're going to talk about it. And I've always been very honest that mental health has not always been great in my family. I come from a family on my dad's side where I do not have any memories of my grandmother, my dad's mom, that wasn't in a bathrobe. She suffered greatly. She was bipolar. She had depression, and it's been passed down through the family. And honestly, I probably got the good end of it, as it were, but it's still there. And I take Lexapro for anxiety. I'm just telling you that right up front, because I have anxiety. I have mental health issues. And I keep hearing these noises in my head everywhere I go. And that's starting to really scare me, So the truth is, the emotional well-being of people is in serious decline, and the church needs to talk about it. It's not a small deal. It was palpable before the pandemic, but now that we are where we are, it's much worse. World Health Organization says anxiety and depression have increased 25% worldwide since the pandemic. And in recent years, the share of high school students who feel persistent feelings of sadness and hopelessness rose from 26% to 44%. It's the highest rate of sadness ever recorded among a people group. That's almost half of our kids in high school feeling hopeless. And suicide is the second leading cause of death among young people between the ages of, I don't even know why they made the category this way, but it must be real, between the ages of 10 and 24. Second leading cause of death. What's going on? We're the most prosperous nation that has ever existed on the planet. Medical care is better than it has ever been. We really have less to worry about. We've never been so safe, right? My grandkids have safety nets around the trampoline. We never had that, right? Our cars have airbags. We didn't have seatbelts, right? Can you imagine having a bike helmet? Those of you who are old, right? Can you imagine being the first kid to go in the neighborhood like, Timmy, what do you got on your head? Oh, that's a bike helmet. My mom's making me wear it. Oh no, I wouldn't have got made fun of for that. Of course I've had concussions. What else would explain me? Come on. And yet, with all of this safety and all this prosperity, listen to this. We are 3 times more anxious than the generation before us. Here's what I want you to hear. And here's what Pastor Ted and the gang wants us to talk about. It is not a sign of weakness that there are things going on mentally for you. What I'm saying for you is that you are not alone, and it is real, and we need to work on it. If you have a broken ankle, you go to the doctor, okay? If you have mental health issues, you go to the doctor. You go to professionals. You get some help. If I had a hurt ankle, my dad would say, just walk it off, right? Or your baseball coach, just walk it off. I can't, Dad. There's a bone sticking out, okay? We're not going to do that here. There are a lot of preachers that are going to get up and go, you just need Jesus, and Jesus is going to make your life be okay. That is a load of bull, okay? It's just like saying, just walk it off. If you have issues, you need to get help. And mental issues means go get some help. And your poor mental health may be biological, okay? So work on that. It may also be circumstantial. And it has been for us. I mean, not only do I have mental health issues in my family, but I got to tell you that for my wife and I, walking away from Parkview has been the hardest experience we've ever gone through. If you're like, well, how come you haven't been back? Because we didn't think we could be back. And we still aren't okay. We don't watch the services. We haven't been up here at all because we're grieving. It's literally a grieving process because we love this church. There is not another church like this in the entire world. And we love you guys. And we miss you guys. And we miss our friends. And all I know is that everything great about being together in Nashville and everything great about the family being together and everything great about hearing how great Parkview is doing makes me very happy. And I know we made the right decision and it was the right timing, but making the right decisions can still be hard. And the other thing for me, being blatantly honest, is about identity. I used to be somebody. I used to be somebody for God. You know, and now I'm just a person that nobody knows who I was, what I do. I'm in a different place, right? One book I found really helpful, I've done a ton of reading. It's called Anonymous by Alicia Brett Coley. And in Anonymous, she's basically talking about Jesus' hidden years. I mean, if you think about, it was 30 years before he started his ministry. And he was anonymous. She said, in spiritual winters like this, our fullness is thinned out so that undistracted by our giftings, we can focus on our character. In the absence of anything to measure, we are left with nothing to stare at except our foundation, which is why your foundation better be in God. Then she says, in each season of hiddenness, our sense of value is disrupted. Stripped of what others affirmed in us, we are left staring at our undecorated selves, wondering what makes us truly special. That's exactly what I've been going through for the last 7 months. But then she says, thank God for the hidden years, because in those underestimated seasons when no one shows up to decorate us with praise, life is finally bare enough to notice that God's adoring eyes have always been upon us. We had his attention all along. We just could not see it because we were too distracted by the sight of ourselves. So that's me. How you doing? Listen, one of the reasons we called this place Parkview is because, we moved from Tinley Park to Orland Park back in 2002, and we wanted to have park in there, even though there's no park. And somebody came up with Parkview. I wanted South Park. They would not let me. I still think we should change the name to South Park, but for whatever. When we hit on Parkview, to me, it just sounded like it had medical connotations. Parkview Hospital, Parkview, whatever. It just seems like that, Parkview Medical Center, that's what it is. And that's what Jesus said, the church is supposed to be a hospital. And then after we did all this, we found that Johnny Cash wrote a song many, many years ago, back in the 70s, called Committed to Parkview. And it's about the Parkview Mental Health Center and being committed to the Parkview Mental Health Center, okay? The Highwaymen recorded it, Porter Wagner recorded it, and it's about all of Johnny's friends like Christofferson and I think Porter Wagner who were doing drug and alcohol rehab, and they committed to Parkview Mental Health Center. Here's just one line. There's a girl who cries above me loud enough to wake the dead. They don't know what she has taken that has scrambled up her head. There's a boy just down below me who's the son of some well-known. He was brought here by his mother because his daddy's always gone. There's a bum from down on Broadway and a few quite well-to-do who have withdrawn from the rat race and committed to Parkview. Isn't that so cool? I mean, I think that's what we're here for. We're all messed up. We've all got to find, this is what Jesus said. On hearing this, he said, it is not the healthy who need a doctor. Don't be ashamed of this. This is okay. I have come for the sick. That's what he said. So we're here to help. And what we're going to do through this series is to help with the things that you can do. All right? We're going to help along the way, and Jesus is going to help you, but there are things that you can do. And one verse really stuck out to me. Keep your heart with all vigilance, for from it flow the springs of life. Vigilance means keeping careful watch for danger. Or why is this up and down? What? Does anybody have their television up and down? You could get more words on it if it was this way. Sorry. Am I right or am I right? Come on. Vigilance is keeping careful watch for danger or difficulties, the state of being wakeful or alert, okay? Are you diligent about your heart? That's what we're going to talk about for the next 5 weeks. And here's what I want you to understand. Jesus does care. He absolutely does care, more than most people understand. One day, Jesus goes into the synagogue to start. This is the first time he preaches or reads scripture or does anything. And he goes into the synagogue, and it just happens that the scripture for the day is Isaiah 61. The Lord has chosen and sent me to tell the oppressed the good news, to comfort and heal the brokenhearted, and to announce freedom for the captives, and to release from darkness for the prisoners, joy instead of mourning, praise instead of a spirit of despair. Those are mental health words, you guys. Oppression, comfort, healing, hearts broken, sadness. That's all mental health language. People who are stuck under a blanket of despair. And Luke says he ended with these words, I have come to set the burdened and the battered free. To free everyone who suffers. This is what Jesus came for. Not just so that we could be in heaven someday, but to free the brokenhearted. And then he says in John 14, as I leave, I'm leaving you with the gift, the peace of mind and heart. The peace I give you is a gift the world cannot give. So don't be troubled or afraid. Don't be ashamed of it if you are, because we all do. But he's saying, look, I'm here to help you. I can offer you peace of mind. In other words, what I want you to hear is it's okay to not be okay, but you don't have to stay that way. Okay? It's okay to not be okay, but we don't have to stay that way. In Romans 15, Paul says, you're the source of hope. God is the source of hope, and he will fill you completely with joy, and you will be overflowed with the confidence of the Holy and the power of the Holy Spirit. I love what he says. God said our hope, he's our joy, he's our peace, okay? He wants to free us, the darkness for the prisoners, joy instead of mourning, all of these things. This is what Jesus came to do. And as a reminder, we went through this about 4 years ago here. Philippians 4 says, Paul says, always be full of joy in the Lord. I say it again, rejoice. Remember, the Lord is coming soon. Don't worry about anything. Well, good luck with that, right? But instead, pray about everything. Tell God what you need and thank him for what he has done. Gratitude's so important. Then you will experience God's peace, which exceeds anything you can understand. His peace will guard your hearts and minds as you live in Christ Jesus, okay? There's a perception out there, however, that just reading the Bible and praying is going to make us immune to human suffering. And that's not the case for any follower of Jesus. That wasn't even the case for Jesus himself, who suffered more than anybody in history. In John 11, it says that Jesus wept, and the word for wept is dakruo, which means sobbed or convulsed with grief. Jesus gets you. If you've seen the ads on TV, they are absolutely right. Jesus gets us. He went through every human emotion. Think about this for a moment. Jesus was homeless. His family thought he was crazy. His best friends turned their backs on him. His closest friends sold him to be killed for money. He was not welcome in his own hometown. He stood face to face with the devil and endured all kinds of demonic tricks. He dealt with death. He endured gossip and slander. He endured suffering and for righteousness' sake. He was shamed publicly. He endured periods of hunger. He received criticism for his ministry. His theology was mocked, and his message was rejected, and his preaching was criticized. He was so anxious one time before the cross that he sweat drops of blood, and he was murdered by crucifixion. He understood trouble. He gets us. So please hear me say this again. If you're struggling, it doesn't make you a bad Christian. It makes you a human being. Can I say that again? If you're struggling, it doesn't mean you're a bad Christian. Because I'm struggling. Maybe I'm a bad Christian, but I'm struggling, okay? And it just means you're human. That's all there is to it. So we're not just going to, preach at you. We've got a website, parkviewchurch.com/care, that's got all kinds of helpful stuff on it. A downloadable ebook that will go along with the Sound of Mind series that we're doing. Video podcasts with Pastor Ted and different guests. You can find it on the website, on the app. We're here for you, okay? We want to help you with that. Here's what Paul goes on to say in Philippians 4, and here's where I want us to camp out today. And now, dear brothers and sisters, one final thing. Fix your thoughts on what is true, honorable, right, pure, lovely, and admirable. Think about the things that are excellent and worthy of praise. Keep putting into practice all that you learned and received from me, everything you heard from me and saw me doing. Okay? Fix your thoughts on the things that are true, that you can put into practice, because your mind matters. He says, one final thing, fix your thoughts. That's what you're supposed to do. And what will happen? Then the God of peace will be with you. So there's a partnership in this whole experience for us. Think about is the word logizomai. I know it doesn't matter what the word is, but I want you to know that, because what word do you think we get from that in the English language? Logic, right? It's pretty obvious, okay? To reason. Paul is saying you have to use logic to battle anxiety, okay? In very simplistic terms, neuroscientists and neurologists tell us there's a section of our mind in the middle of our brain that is the part that is driven, that takes care of emotion, and it's called the amygdala, okay? And it doesn't think, it's just about emotion, okay? And then the part that controls our thinking is the prefrontal cortex, located in the front of my brain, okay? And these two parts of the brain are supposed to work together. So the amygdala is the thing that signals fight or flight for us. It's like, there's a bear, I better run, right? The problem is the amygdala is not objective. Its goal is just to protect you, okay? What's supposed to happen is when the amygdala kicks in, then the prefrontal cortex is supposed to decide whether we should run or fight, okay? So you go to a haunted house, okay, right? And you walk in, and it's scary, and all of a sudden, a guy in a hockey mask comes out with a chainsaw, and your amygdala goes, oh! And what's supposed to happen is that your prefrontal cortex is supposed to go, hey, you idiot, you paid $10 to come in here to get scared. It's not a problem, okay? You walk out on the Sears Willis Tower thing at that glass thing, and you look down and your amygdala is like, oh, it's way down there. And your prefrontal cortex is going to say, there's a lot heavier people than you that have been out here, and it's going to be okay, right? So here's the way it's supposed to work together. Fear sees a threat and decides what to do, and then moves on. Anxiety imagines a threat and can't move on. The problem with anxiety is if we allow the thoughts to linger, it can put us in a constant state of fight or flight, and it becomes completely irrational. Don't our worries become completely irrational? Isn't our anxiety completely irrational? And here's what neuroscientists will tell you, that over time, it creates literally a rut in your brain. It can dig a pathway in your brain, and it's literally rewiring your brain. So what's happening to many of us, just like our bodies, when we don't work out, when we don't do the things we're supposed to, our muscles atrophy. And in the same way, your brain is doing that, and your mind is pliable, and you can retrain your mind. This is really important. That's why he says, fix your thoughts. And again, please don't hear me saying you should just fix yourself and everything's going to be okay. You may need medical help. You probably need professional help. We all need professional help, okay? What I'm saying is that what Paul is saying is that you can become a better air traffic controller of your mind, okay? Somebody gave me this mug years ago, and I just found it back there. I guess I left it for Ted because I knew he would need it. It says, it's okay to have Jesus and a therapist too. But we have something that we can do to partner with God to be a better air traffic controller. In other words, you have to think about what you think about. And not every thought is worthy of thinking about. You have to think about what you think about, and not every thought is worthy of thinking. Okay? And guess what? Most of the stuff we think about these days, most of the stuff that we let in is not really helpful. We probably shouldn't be thinking about it. So how do I begin by retraining my mind? Again, what is true? What is noble? What is right, pure, lovely? What is admirable? What's excellent or praiseworthy? Think about these things. As I was doing this in the last service, I thought, very few of these are on social media, right? Very few of these are on, on television. Unless all you do is watch America's Funniest Home Videos and The Office, there's not a whole lot of stuff that's going on, that's going constantly into your mind. If anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about these things. So let me illustrate this this way, okay? We'll call this our mind, and these are our good thoughts, and these are our bad thoughts, okay? Very, very simple illustration. Think of the clear jar. It represents your mind, okay? And we all know that we can't control every anxious thought that we have, so we have to decide what we're going to let in. So what happens to a lot of us, what happens to me, is these negative thoughts start digging a rut in my brain, and I start concentrating on them, and I start thinking about them, and I start fixing my mind on them. What if I lose my job? What if I don't have enough money? What if something horrible happens to my kids? I look stupid. How am I going to overcome this anxiety? Everybody thinks I'm a fraud. I'm never going to find real love. I don't know what's going to happen to me in the future. I can't take care of my parents anymore. I don't know what I'm going to do. And we start filling all these things up. And we realize that I can't live a positive life in a negative mind. My mom used to say, and so did yours, garbage in and garbage out, right? And usually, for my mom, that was Gilligan's Island, I guess, or something. I don't even know what it was. That could have been that garbagey back in the day, but that's what it was. And we use it for computer coding, right? Garbage in, garbage out. Whatever you code in is going to come out. That's how the whole thing works. So your mind is just like your body. What you put in your body is going to be reflected in your body. So we don't just try to get the thoughts out. Here's the problem. If we just try to get the thoughts out, that's great. But can you really keep an empty mind? Can you really exist with nothing in there? Some of you ladies are like, have you met my husband? It may be true for a little while, but it doesn't last for long. Something's going to go in there. It's really impossible to have your mind empty. Something is going to fill in the space. If you aren't intentional, what's going to happen? More thoughts are going to come back, right? So Paul tells us, wait a minute, what you got to start doing is filling your mind with something good, something that is true, something that is noble, something that is pure and right and lovely and admirable and excellent and praiseworthy, and think on these things. Fix your mind. And the more good that you have in there, then it doesn't matter what Satan tries to give you, because there's just not very much room for him to put anything in there, because your mind is already filled up with the good stuff. And I know that some of you are saying, well, that sounds pretty simplistic. And I know, again, it's not just about like, oh, I'm just going to fix this myself. Anxiety is deeply spiritual. What I'm saying is the brain is pliable. You can retrain your mind. It's a scientific fact now. When I started in ministry, nobody knew that. So if you've allowed anxiety to rule in your mind for a long time, to make pathways into your mind, you can become a better air traffic controller. I'm going to give you one tool that I have used, and my wife has used, and my family has used a lot. It's called the Neurocycle app. I don't get any kickback from this. It's going to cost you like $40 for 3 months as an app. And it is done by Dr. Carolyn Leaf, who is a leading neuroscientist and also a great committed Christian. And what this will do is help you on your own. You don't even need to get help with it. You can do it on your own. It'll take 63 days to retrain your mind. You focus on one negative thought, and you start working on it. My negative thought was, nobody wants me anymore. I know it sounds stupid to you, but I walk away, I got no identity. That's what it felt like. That was my negative thought. I took 63 days, and I went through it, and it still pops up. It still happens to me, but I was able literally to retrain my mind. And if you didn't get that down, it's in the resources that we have at parkviewchurch.com/care. What I'm saying is, if you're living in Christ, you have the same power that rose Jesus from the dead. And here's what Paul said. We can take, this is the most important verse, we can take captive every thought to make it obedient to Christ. Paul knew about neuroscience before anybody had studied it. You can fix your thoughts on what is good. You can take captive every thought to make it obedient to Christ. And the word take captive literally means capture with a weapon. It's like an aggressive taking captive. And you say, what kind of weapon do I have? Well, there's one weapon that's listed in the Bible in Ephesians 6, and it's this. It's in the armor of God passage, there's only one offensive tool, the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God. This is your weapon. You fill up with this. You fill up with the good stuff. You fill up with the Christian podcasts and the sermons and the good stuff, and you're reading the good stuff, and you're thinking the good stuff, and you're filling it up with the good stuff, and then there's not as much room for the bad stuff. You fill it up, again, with what is true, noble, right, pure, lovely, admirable. Anything is excellent or praiseworthy. Think about these things. And what I know is that God's trying to get a hold of you right now. He's trying to get a hold of me and say, you can't control every thought that flies into your mind, but you can control which ones land there. Will it change overnight? No. You ever get out of shape? Did it change overnight? You know, did you go to the gym for 3 days and go, oh, dang, I look pretty good? No, you didn't. It's going to take some time, but as you learn to rewire your brain, as you get up, maybe you put Philippians 4:8 on your mirror that you look at first thing in the morning, or it's a screensaver for you, and you just start looking at that list and you start thinking about that. And then every time you're tempted to go on social media and you start seeing some stuff that's the black stuff, you know, you're like, oh wait, I'm gonna go I'll find a cat video or something, you know. I mean, something that is not going to be, well, maybe it is negative, I don't know, but something that's not gonna, you know, mess up my brain. Okay. Maybe you go on and you read scripture, okay? So we're going to do communion today. And if you're visiting with us today, you don't have to be from Parkview. We welcome you to do this. And I'm gonna lead us in this all together. And I want to come back and remind you that even though there are some things that we can do to partner with Jesus, the important thing to remember is the reason we all gather together, and the reason I'm so positive that life can be better for me and for you is because we have Jesus. Okay? Because Jesus said, take my yoke upon you. And when I read that verse to people, sometimes they're like, well, you know, what is that? Yoke, you know, it's two animals, two horses, two oxen, whatever, being yoked together to pull a load. And a lot of times people are like, well, I don't need a yoke. I don't want more load. Okay, that sounds like a burden. I don't want that. I'm already carrying too much. But the purpose of a yoke is to actually make it lighter. And, you know, no ox, no horse ever felt the yoke being put on and thought, oh no, this is bad. They feel it put on and they know they're going to have somebody else help them pull the load that they were pulling. It's for the benefit of the plow animal. And the truth is, two animals yoked together can pull more than both of them can pull individually added together. It's being carried together and it makes it easier. So Jesus says, take my yoke upon you. And then he says, for my yoke is easy and my burden is light. In other words, Jesus says, I'm going to take part of your load. Jesus doesn't have any load. Remember, he's the Son of God. It's not like he's saying, hey, I'll help you with your problems and you help me with mine. He doesn't have any problems. He's offering to help. He's the guy with the empty truck and a strong back on moving day showing up. And again, let me remind you, he said, I have come to set the burdened and the battered free, to free everyone who suffers. So as we do communion today, what I want you to do is just to realize that not only did Jesus come to die on the cross and save us from our sins, which is what obviously this is about, the body and the blood of Jesus that were broken for us to save us from our sins, but he also came so that he could live among us and suffer like us because he was human, and show us that there is hope and peace and joy. We welcome you to commune with us. Let me pray. Lord, thank you for your death and resurrection, which free us forever from our sins. But Lord, please don't let us forget that freedom starts today, that you said today is the new covenant. Today is the day of salvation. And you promised that you came to free the brokenhearted, to rescue the slaves from the darkness, that you came to bring us a peace that the world cannot understand. And so as this is the Eucharist, we sometimes call it, which means literally gratitude, what this is about for us is taking and observing with gratitude what you did for us. And you said in Philippians 4 that we should think on the good things and we should pray with gratitude. We're going to have gratitude today for what you did for us. And we're going to take you and we're going to eat and we're going to drink. And as we feel this reminder, help us to walk out of here knowing, even if it's going to take some time to retrain our brain, that we have your power and that you are yoked together with us. It's in your name that we pray. Amen. The body of Christ shed for you. Take and eat. And this represents the blood of Christ shed for you. Take and drink. Lord, I ask for your continued mercy and grace upon this place, this mental hospital, this hospital for the people that need you, for the people who are human, for the people who don't have it all together. Lord, thank you that we can be together in your presence and we have nothing but gratitude for what you've done for us. Yes, forevermore. But maybe even more importantly right now at this time in our lives, for the yoke that we can put on right now, that you will help us as we carry the load. Thank you. It's in your name that we pray. Amen.